All right. In in honor of the rent and trash strike, I have got a full trash episode for you. Are your topics related to trash too, or is it just me?
Uh, you could call them trash, but
Sorry, I lost my voice is just now coming back. I lost it at a soccer game, and I've been talking for the last 3 days. It hasn't come back. I feel like maybe there's an illness. I don't know. I'm gonna push through. This is like my Michael Jordan flu game right here. I'm gonna push through with no voice on the podcast. But um, yeah. So I remember it was funny because like the minute you were talking about the trash strike, I remembered an episode of a podcast that I listened to on a guy who created his own trash business. Have you ever heard of that guy, Spencer Scott, who owns Lone Star Trash?
no, I don't think so.
So apparently, this guy in Dallas, Texas. By the way, click that link in the show in the thing. It's called LoneStarTrash.com if you guys want to check out his website. But um, beautiful website, by the way. This guy knows SEO, so somehow he must have known. And the website is so good. It's like perfectly SEO on the top, and then it's like his family story, which makes you want to buy. And then I love like the video that he has going on down there. It just like this website is absolutely money. Um, but this dude, so apparently his HOA was like upset about their trash service, and they weren't picking up the trash on time, or they were like leaving the bins all strewn about, and like they just weren't doing a great job. So he posts inside his HOA like uh chat and says, "Hey, if I can get 200 signups, I will start a trash business, get a truck, and start doing this for us." And he gets 150 signups in the first like couple days. He goes and buy, and which is like $15,000. So it's $99 a month to do this in his HOA when he first starts it. And he goes and buys a trash truck off of Facebook Marketplace for 40,000 bucks. And he's running this. His monthly expenses on this business are like apparently like about $2,000 because he's doing all the labor.
Right.
So like with the trash truck and whatnot, and he finds a company that makes him the barrels for about $40 a piece. So he buys about 200 or 300 or whatever of the cans.
Did you just take it to the dump?
Yeah. So he just fills up, which is what basically every trash truck does anyway. They
Yeah.
just pick it up and they're just like a middleman taking trash to a dump. And so then
Is it? I always thought that. Is it illegal to like? Is it like a government thing where you can't start your independent trash company, or like why is there not more shit like this?
well, that's a good question. And I'm going to go into this because I have a few stories about people who just started up this way. And so he takes it over. I think it's just hard to get the contracts. Plus, like the cost is relatively higher because unless you can get all of your customers in a defined area, you have to drive too much where it just the time and the gas and all that stuff just doesn't make it worth it.
That makes sense.
So he's still running this. I just checked his Instagram. They just bought their third truck at auction and they're starting their third truck now. So he is growing this. I'm sure now he has more drivers. For a long time, it was just him doing it. And, with $2,000 of expenses, he is, bringing in pretty good cash, right? Because even if he's paying himself 10 grand a month, he's making 120K. And that's just the beginning of it. That was literally just a start. And so, pretty good business to get into. And there are a couple big examples of people who have done this, which has been awesome to just kind of look at the story. Like, have you ever heard of Brian Scudamore?
Mm-mm.
So I know you've heard of his company. I want to start out with the company name that he started at because I love this company even more. Because for those of you guys that don't know, we started our podcast with the name The Health Dudes because we thought it was going to be really cool. Because long story on that, but originally our first podcast was called The Health Dudes. And then we had to change our name and get more serious. So Brian Scudamore's company starts off, the name of it is called The Rubbish Boys. So very reminiscent to the health dudes.
The
I'm not
rubbish
saying he got
boys.
the name from us. But this dude started out of the back of a blue pickup truck or a green, I think a blue pickup truck. And he would go around to people's houses.
Like junk removal.
He would do junk removal. He would take like bigger items. So people who wanted to get rid of old couches and mattresses and things like that. Well, years later, this company is now called 1-800 Got Junk. And that company is now absolutely obviously massive. And so Brian is still running 1-800 Got Junk. But that just started out of the back of a pickup truck. The
Yeah.
biggest one though is Wayne Huizinga. Have you ever heard of him? Huizinga.
Yeah.
Wayne Huizinga.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is
First of all, this guy, unfortunately, he passed away in 2018, but this guy is an absolute legend. So in 1960, he buys one trash truck and starts his trash business. Then he starts buying mom and pop trash haulers around different areas. So he's basically early in the game in the 1960s. He's doing roll-ups before roll-ups were cool, right? Like everybody's rolling up boring businesses now. You've got people like Cody Sanchez who have made all of this popular. They're rolling up boring businesses. Well, Wayne was doing this in the 1960s, buying up mom and pop trash trucks. And then in 1971, he takes a little company called Waste Management public. And Waste Management slowly buys up trash hauling companies. They slowly start to scale up their operation. And obviously, all of us know Waste Management open. We know Waste Management. We've all seen these green trucks. I just looked up the market cap today. $91.5 billion market cap on this company that was started in the 1960s out of one truck. And the crazy thing is, this business is so durable, right? Like trash is not going away. AI is not taking trash jobs. June 6th, 2025, Waste Management hit an all-time high market cap. So this thing is still growing, and it's growing at a very fast rate. And obviously, Wayne is no longer here and running the company. But the crazy thing is, like, all of these businesses in trash seem extremely durable. And it seems like, if you do it correctly and you're just right, like consistent, you do a good job of picking up the trash, which seems like a, fairly straightforward process. You could build a pretty big company. The crazy thing about this guy, Wayne, though, is that he didn't stop at trash. He also bought Blockbuster Video when it was only 19 stores, and he
Oh.
scaled it to 1,000 stores and took it public, and then sold that for $8.4 billion. And then he was like, "Hey, you know what? This roll up thing is really working for me, and I know how to like scale and franchise businesses. So I'm going to take used car dealerships, and I'm going to figure out how to make used car dealerships not such a shitty experience." And he rolled up some car dealerships, scaled it, and built AutoNation. And AutoNation
Uh,
has become one of the largest car used car dealers in the country as well. The market cap of that company, by the way, I checked today, it hit its peak today at $8 billion market cap. So he built a $91.5 billion company. He got Blockbuster to 8.4. Obviously, Blockbuster's gone now, but he sold at a nice time, 8.4 billion. And now his other company, AutoNation, is still going strong, $8 billion market cap, and his peak was today. So, one, I'm like, maybe let's get into the trash business. Two, I'm thinking like, man, it's crazy. This guy Wayne, he basically just took the same thing and rinse and repeated. And so I have some takeaways on this video on my topics here. And basically it was like a couple things here. One, like if you could find something you can do well, sometimes it's like there's no like I think to myself when we're building our company, it's like there's no way this is gonna work just over and over and over again. Well, apparently it does, and it can work on like the billion-dollar scale. And so, especially if you're out there like with a multi-million-dollar company, like you could rinse and repeat your idea, one, both like in different industries, but even easier, just rinse and repeat in different regions of the country. And you can build a national company that way, as long as you continue to have a good product and brand. And a lot of what they talk about, like Brian, 1-800 Got Junk, great brand. Waste Management, they had really good branding as well. And then obviously you see like Lone Star Trash, they're still up and coming, but growing fast. Great branding and great
Well, but in certain industries like that, it's like does it how much does that matter? You know?
well, like Brian tells a really good story and makes it appealing to go with his trash company, even though it may be a little bit more expensive than some of the other companies. But I'd say like the big thing is
Like waste management. I didn't say which garbage company do I want to pick. Like it was just I didn't even
at,
know that you have a choice, right?
at this point, yeah, sometimes you have a choice. A lot of places I think that
Like for your house, what do you just kind of like sign up with the city, right?
well, no. So you're like Republic Services is a private company, and so like that's who's striking right now with the Teamsters. It's all like
But did you have a choice of another company, or you just
there
kind of
theoretically you could.
yeah?
Otherwise, it's like obviously a monopoly. But yeah, I
I
mean
just
like
I don't
there
remember
are
ever having that like all right, let's look up who we want to go with. Like I feel like it's just you just sign
yeah,
up.
for waste management, now that they're so big, 91.5 billion, it's kind of like going with Comcast internet. It's like you do have some or Xfinity. It's like you do have some options, but it becomes the main option you do.
Yeah,
With 1-800 Got Junk, it's 100% a free open market. So it's
for sure.
like for big haul stuff. I mean, obviously you can go with anybody. Um, but also, like, the interesting thing about this is that you don't really have to innovate to crush it. Like, these businesses are not innovative. It's not like we're thinking of some big sexy idea. And I don't always love to preach the idea of like boring businesses, but it's like I think the less sexy the business is, the lower the bar is usually to enter, because there's not that many people wanting to go into the space because it's not that exciting, right? It's not like this isn't a new AI app that's doing something spectacular. It's not some like crazy idea. It's a services business, but it's very durable, as we can see. And so like it's a great thing to get into. And it's really makes it not about the idea, but more about the execution engine. So like building the processes, building the team, and making sure that you focus on executing. And that's kind of like, in PT for us, that's what it's been like. Like PT is not, we aren't innovating a ton, although we do a lot of stuff different. It's more like a different flavor versus a different meal altogether. But it's all in the execution. How do we execute on the customer experience and make sure that that person wants to continue to come back? Because similar to 1-800 Got Junk, people can go to any number of physical therapy clinics. And this is where I think brand matters, is potentially for us, for example, would be like, how many patients have we got? I guess you don't treat, but you probably still hear this. I hear this a lot. People come in, and I just had a guy yesterday, actually, or a gal. She said, "Yeah, I've been to PT for this like maybe 5 years ago." And I'm like, "Who'd you go to for PT?" And she's like, she could tell me the city she was in, which there's only a few clinics there. I named out, and she, even though I named out every clinic in the city, she still couldn't tell me which one she went to. So obviously, pretty bad branding for someone not to even remember. So, like for us in PT, I think brand actually does matter. One, from a consumer making a decision through like social media, through our website, this kind of thing, looking clean, nice, organized. But also from a like return customer perspective, people just being able to remember what clinic they went to so they could Google us and like come back. That's
Well,
kind of
no,
like,
don't be mistake. Like in our industry, brand is everything. I'm
yeah.
talking about in certain services like trash or whatever. I don't know how much it sticks out to people.
And
For us, it's everything. Like that's what I always tell people is like what is your thing going to be?
Yep.
Or what word are you going to own? Because, yeah, everyone you talk to, no one remembers where they went, who they saw. They just remember that they went. So if you want to be that generic, like, don't stick in anyone's mind, you're just like the waste management, right? Like, if that's what you want to be, then good luck. But I think every industry is winnable with a great brand. So maybe that's the thing is like, could you come and disrupt waste management with like the sour strips branding of garbage? I don't know, maybe, or pinks, like the pinks
Yeah,
of garbage, maybe.
for sure. And I think like, for example, to go back to your question, I think like some of the trash you can't choose the service. Like where you're at in Seattle, you can't choose because the city chooses. But theoretically, that decision is based on like city councils. And so it's more of like a B2B thing where it's like they might be able to win a B2B deal with a really good brand because maybe the city goes, we've been operating it. We just don't do a good job. People complain. Maybe it's easier just to bring in waste management because they know what they're doing. So, like, that brand I think still matters, but it's just to a different person. It's more a B2B brand. It's kind of like Azure with Microsoft. It's like you don't care that it's called Azure. You don't care about the branding of the cloud services, but companies who are using cloud services care about the branding and the reputation of the company that's providing the service. So,
Well,
um,
that's a great point because I remember hearing about like how well Microsoft is doing now, you know, and I was just in my head like, it seems like they kind of suck now, right? But that's just the consumer facing thing. You don't see like the iPhone or whatever, but the B2B side, like maybe they are apparently they are doing pretty damn well.
well, because
Uh,
most of their money now is made in cloud services and enterprise software. And so
right.
our enterprise doesn't happen to use Microsoft, but our business partners do use Microsoft as their enterprise software. And obviously we have Microsoft products within our business, but yeah, it's like those are like it's just kind of like waste management. You don't think of them crushing it at $92 billion, but they are, but it's because like you don't think about your trash on a daily basis until the trash people go on strike, and then it makes
Yeah.
you look up all this stuff. The
Well,
other, the other,
I
the
was
other,
literally gonna post if you're a kid in high school with a truck in Renton, start knocking on doors saying, "I'll take your shit," and like I bet you could make a quick buck, dude.
yeah, oh yeah, $100 to go like, or like even like better, like one of these apartments where they're all stacked up. The apartment's like, hey, look, you got trash everywhere. I've got this truck I rented. I could take all this stuff for $1,000. And then they're like, sold, done. Cause like it's gonna be like imagine you're trying to show people around new prospective tenants. That's what you sell. You
Yeah,
sell on the pain. Do you want your new prospective tenants to see this garbage pile out here?
yeah,
It's like, boom, yeah, no, I don't want that because I'm gonna lose a like a $30,000 rental deal over $1,000 of trash. I gotta
yeah.
go pick this up and take it.
I just talked to the Teamsters. They're talking about 2 more, maybe 3 more weeks of this, dude.
Exactly. Yeah. Just sell them on fear of loss. And my last takeaway on this was just like our business, right? We could have never predicted 6 years later that we'd be as far as we are today. And really like even waste management. I mean, it started in the 1960s. It went public in 1971. So like that's theoretically like 10 or less years. I don't know exactly the year of when Wayne started that, but it really reminds me of that quote of like people overestimate what they can do in a year, but underestimate what they can do in 10. And
Sure.
I'm interested to see where Lone Star Trash ends up in 10 years because I think if you build an executive engine, like you're just executing at a different level than other people, uh, you can really scale a lot faster than you think you can in 10 years because you can go a lot further. And even like a company like Lone Star Trash, you'd be like, well, where can they use AI in their business to help them scale? Because I was talking to my brother-in-law yesterday when we were driving home from soccer, and I was talking about how we use AI in like all facets of our business, and it's made our business feel much larger than it is, because like you and I can do like 5 times the amount of work just by leveraging all of the AI that we leverage. And so, but like for Lone Star Trash, it's like, dude, you could use AI to automate the customer service process, to automate a lot of the route and scheduling. And like, I'm sure there are a ton of things that you can use technology for.
Yeah.
And he was talking about his job. He's like, the place I work, they're still writing their AI policy. We're way behind, right? So he works for a city government. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's probably like, honestly, the large companies in physical therapy are probably still trying to like figure out what is our AI policy. And meanwhile, we're out here using AI in every single facet, including making our clinicians' lives way easier through like documentation assistance and like all of this stuff we're doing. An AI will chop this podcast up, make it into clips that we post. It'll do a ton of stuff for us. It does all of our meeting notes. It does, it helps us formulate our processes and SOPs. It's crazy because like if you can just execute well in an industry, right? Like PT for us, not a super sexy industry. I haven't heard a lot of venture capitalists that are like, the next industry we got to go into PT. So it's like that's the advantage. That's the bar is fairly low. And I've told people this all the time. The bar is low in medical to like do really well and have a great service. And it shows with like our 5-star reviews and things people say. Like I've never been to a PT this great. It's like it's not that hard to make that bar for us.
We have too many where I can't even get them all out, you know? Like I want to like share these great stories, but I'm like, dude, there's so many, it's overwhelming.
We've got to have how many reviews do we have in the first 15 days of July? I mean, we got to have what, 50 new reviews?
50 to 60. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
And a lot of them are, that's what I try to tell people. It ain't just tap 5 stars. It's like their stories.
Yep.
I want to someday go through and like contact these people, do videos. But speaking of AI, I saw Jerry Durham was talking about he's been he's been working with different clinics who are using the AI receptionists, and he's like, from their experiences, people are very willing to schedule and talk to AI.
Well, well, I'll put it this way. If you can guarantee that you get somebody versus
Right, right.
you may call and play phone tag, I think you're willing. And by the way, I've actually been on the phone with these AI receptionists, not in our company. I've been on other people's, and the AI will say something like, "Hey, this is AI. I'm going to help you schedule. If you do need to talk to someone real, just let me know and I'll get you over there." Right?
Yeah,
Like that's a nice sentence. It gives people that little bit of at ease where it's like, okay, like if stuff starts to go wrong, I'm willing to try this, and if it
yeah.
goes wrong, then I'm going to just hop over. But I mean, it just makes sense. And I like I was telling you, it's crazy to me. In 10 years, call centers will not exist.
No.
Call centers for customer service will not exist. It'll be a 100th of the service representatives. And
Someone
then,
running point on all the
yeah, and,
AIs.
and and you'll still be able to talk to a human. I think someone will like, I got to really get to a human, but I think AI will solve the issue for most people. Because here's the thing, we call insurances every day to verify benefits, and you could call the same insurance company and get 3 different representatives that tell you different information. Maybe you call one representative and they're like, yeah, I can't give you this information. I mean, we call insurances that we are in network with, and they cannot tell you if they are in or out of network. It's like that doesn't even make sense. You have our tax ID, you have the MPI number for our provider, and you can't on a phone look up if we are an in-network provider. That sounds so crazy that it's like
Mhm.
it doesn't even seem real, but it's real. We get it all the time. Like if you call a health insurance today and ask, are we in a network provider? They cannot tell you. And it's like, this needs to all be one, either accessible via an online platform, or two, we need to be able to call and talk to an AI agent. And then the grand plan is like our AI agent talks to your AI agent, and they know each other's language, and they like are able to exchange information.
It like whatever database they're working through to look shit up, you could easily get it into a GPT, and when I send a request, it searches just like a person would, but it's not making any mistakes or typos like a person might. Um,
Yeah.
so that's obvious, but I think like things are rapidly gonna change with all that stuff because you're right, man. Like we have people sometimes. Like I kept calling, and maybe one of our front desk was not at the desk, or they were talking to someone else, and it is a little annoying when you want to reach someone and you go to voicemail. You're like, all right, now I got
And
to go into a meeting, and they're gonna call me back when I'm in the meeting, and like,
imagine, yeah, because like that's always the problem with phone calls, and I think that's the reason why people don't like phone calls. Is um, it's like you have to have two people that have enough time. That's why texting is superior form of communication for most people, and they prefer it.
yeah,
And that's why we have gone to the new age where we text people a lot for like scheduling and things like that, because people just don't have the time nowadays, or like you just can't link up. And we don't have the resources to be able to hire multiple front desk people so that someone's always available to pick up the phone. Now we've done certain things like, because our business fairly important to pick up first phone calls. So we centralized intake and things like that to make sure that when someone calls, especially a new patient, we are getting their call. But think about all the industries that this is so important for, that they could just lower their costs so much, because one AI service, like one AI agent can answer 10 phone calls at once at one time. Because it's not like, oh, my AI agent is on the phone with somebody, I get a busy signal. You could easily program that so like a replica of your AI agent picks up at the exact same time, where you can't replicate that, right? Like if two people call one of our offices at once, we can only answer one of those calls, and we have to call the other person back. And so imagine the businesses that rely on like answering in a timely manner, that they can answer unlimited phone calls at once. It just becomes like instantly scalable, because that's what really limits a lot of companies from being able to scale, is they just can't handle and like onboard enough clients, because they just don't have the manpower for the onboarding piece. And so like this solves that.
you'd be surprised all the service businesses. Maybe you not be surprised, but like you call the amount of service businesses that if you call will actually pick up right away and get something done is insane, dude. I was looking for someone to clean my house, and no one got back to me for like 2 days. I was like, dude, I'm just wait. Whoever calls first, man. Like I'm in.
Yeah.
It's just wild to me that that's the main thing. But I get it, right? You don't you're short on staff, and you don't want to pay someone just to answer phones. So I think stuff like this, everyone's worried about taking away jobs. I think it's like this just makes your business better, and allows you to spend money on different jobs, for your
And
business.
there are growing pains in the meantime. Like I just talked to a person yesterday who's losing their job. They're getting laid off because AI is taking their job. But they're in customer support. Speaking of Microsoft, they're in like B2B ticket support. So like they're like basically like AI is handling a lot of these tickets.
For sure.
Like a person still needs to oversee the AI and make sure that the answer is correct on these tickets. But
We need less
like
of you.
most of these tickets now that businesses are submitting to like Azure, for example, are being handled by AI, and that's displacing. I think they said 9,000 people are getting laid off from Microsoft from
Yeah, I
this
saw that.
department. And so that's like a tough thing to deal with. But again, like now this person will be freed up to go do something else, which could be more skill based, and could have more fun. Like I said, there's always going to be downsides from this type of thing, and for sure, like when call centers no longer exist, all of those people, I mean, tens, if not hundreds of millions of people worldwide who are working in call centers will have to figure something else out.
Yeah.
But in general, for like small businesses, using this technology is such an advantage because, like, again, there are large companies above us that have way more resources to hire more employees, right? They've got funding, they've got private equity, they're public, so they have shareholder money. We're just bootstrapped with from starting from scratch, right? We never had to take on debt. And so like these kind of tools make us instantly scalable in certain ways, right? Because now we could spend way more money on PTs and hiring good PTs and supporting them because we don't have to spend as much because we have self-scheduling and other technologies that reduce the cost of the overhead of the business of non-revenue producing positions.
Yep. Yep. One thing I had was I'm sure you'll relate to this is like I was at this event over the weekend, and it was just like a party, like at a bar, like DJ going on, but the whole time I found myself like I couldn't shut off my business brain. Like they had a food stand there, and I was like me and my buddy were the only ones in line. We ordered it, took like 30 minutes, and I'm just like, man, you know, you should have had this ready, prepped, and this, and like just to speed your process up. How are you going to handle the rush? Like you're losing money. Then I was looking around at like what people are wearing, and like people had the Labubus and stuff. I was like, man, people are actually interested in this. Everyone was wearing New Balances. I was like, wow, this trend's going that way. It was I was like, man, I think not everyone thinks this way, but when you do, like, you just can't unsee like all the different opportunities that are out there. There was like kind of like the vintage stuff. Everyone was wearing like all the girls were wearing like these baggy jean shorts that like probably we all wore in high, you know, like middle school. And I'm like, everyone should just keep their clothes. Don't get rid of any of their clothes because it'll come back.
Just store them on a 10-year or 25
Yeah.
year cycle. Yeah, no, that's funny about the business thing. I mean, that's what's funny about like I remember Sean Purry from My First Million saying that about his podcast, where he's like, this podcast is for those people who just like go into any place and like, you know, like go into a restaurant and instantly start counting the amount of seats and the amount of like average ticket per customer and how many they can get. Like I do that all the time where I'm like, man, this restaurant's got this many seats. It's probably like 70% booked. This is the average thing that on the menu. This is like, I start trying to do calculations like, what does this business make? What's the overhead? I think like that's the fun. And like you said, like once you've owned a business and you know how things operate behind the scenes, you just know everything is just, it's just a math problem. And then it's just an operational problem. Like, and it's fun to like dive into that sometimes and like figure out like what it, you know, and some of the thing I try to remember is like, I don't know everything about this industry and this business. So like
Yeah.
all of these projections and, oh, this is what I would do. I try not to like armchair quarterback too much. I would never tell the business owner like,
No.
oh, this is what you should be doing. Cause like, obviously they could know the industry. And there's always times you get into something where you're like, oh, you should do this. And like, oh, we can't do it. And this is why. Like there's a lot of examples like that in PT. People always come and try to give us example things where, dude, you guys should pay like doctors for referrals. It's like, yeah, that would be a great idea if it weren't illegal. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, so
Or it's the whole like, oh, why would you only see one person at a time? You know, you should get like 10 people in at an hour. And it's
they,
like, well, the industry wouldn't like that or there's
exactly. So like, I try not to give unsolicited opinions, but I do make a lot of unsolicited opinions in my head and suggestions. And I think about like what I would do. And it always makes me want to just like start something just for fun. Like
yeah.
we've talked about the fun of like maybe going to a farmer's market because that's the perfect place to test something. You have a ton of people that are going to come through. You might see 1,000 people in a day. That's a great place to try to get a signal. And so like if I were starting a business that especially like any type of food business, but even like a crafts business or like whatever it is, I would go to like 10 farmers markets, different places, and I would try to test the market on whatever the idea is before I spent any money on the actual thing, right? Before you buy a food truck, you should go test the food, see if you're a good cook, also see if people like the food that you're making
Yeah.
or the style that you have. And then if it's like you have a really high signal, like, oh, whoa, like my booth was one of the busiest booths at the farmer's market and I had a line, that is a good signal.
What do you think about this idea though? Because I think people got to be careful with it because I think the farmers market is the right signal, but I remember being at a farmers market one time and this guy had these popsicles and I went up to him because he was slow. He's like, "Yeah, we're not doing really well, blah, blah, blah." I was like, "Well, what made you want to do this?" He's like, "Well, I tried it one time during the summer at Gasworks. I pulled up and everyone loved them." But I'm like, that's kind of like the starving crowd thing, right? It's like you don't actually have to be good if you pull up with a water bottle in a hot area, like
For
that
sure.
that's not necessarily the signal about you. You just found the right opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think people got to be careful with that of like I think about this all the time of like, is it you or is it the starving crowd that's made you successful in what you're doing?
Yeah, that's true, and that's why I say, like, I would test a bunch of different places because obviously that guy got high signal at one place, and then he went to another place, he got low signal. So you would wanna do a bunch of like, spend a summer and doing it because you might make a seasonal business, right? Like a popsicle business might be, but that's still an okay business. Like, I'm sure ice sales are way higher in the summer than they are in the winter, but that's still, like, not a bad business to be in, and also you can use that signal as like, okay, maybe this doesn't work all the time, but it does work when people are really hot and thirsty. So
I got to do that. Yeah.
where are people really hot and thirsty? So it's like I think about that with a food truck. It's like if you have delicious food, but it's like, ah, this wouldn't be a restaurant. This isn't a restaurant concept. I only sell like one or two items or whatever. It's like pull that food truck up to like soccer tournaments. It's like you got a bunch of parents who are just sitting on the sideline. They're hungry. The snack shack is like whatever. They're out in a field way away from any restaurants. It's like, so find the place where your thing is like water in a desert, right? Like
Yeah.
where is your thing most attractive? And so, like, for example, if you sell a dinner item, don't go and try to serve it for breakfast at 9 a.m. Like that's not going to be a high signal time. So you can start to narrow down it. I started to think about this as well when I went to like a couple popular restaurants where they were only open from like 4 to 10 p.m. That was all. I'm like, you have all this space, you have the kitchen, you have this and that. Why don't you open all day and just do other stuff? And then I started to realize like sometimes the cost of opening a building is is too much versus the amount of money you make during those hours. And so like the cost to like fire up all the ovens and have the greeting staff and have a bartender and have all the cooks and all that and like the waiters and waitresses, maybe for that restaurant it's just like it's way better to condense down into like a small amount of time and we get way more people versus like spreading out all my staffing the rest of the day. Because I always think about like more is not always better. And sometimes if you can sell everything you were going to sell in 3 hours that like in half the time, that's a way better business, right? Because then you have to have less staffing, you have less overhead and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
that's always something interesting that I've thought about because like I've thought about like the smoothie bar in Renton where it's like, oh man, you guys should open more hours. But I'm like, well, maybe not because like maybe the supply demand curve actually starts to go the other way if like the hours are way more available. It's like I don't know that just because we have more hours we would do more PT visits. It's hard to say though.
Yeah, I think with them, I would implement more AI stuff. So at Equinox, they have a smoothie bar, and you can't get a smoothie, but they have like a bunch of other drinks, like canned stuff. And when the staff's not there, they have a little scanner and a thing where you can pay for it. And I've done it multiple times, I don't know that it would work in that building, just the access of it. Um, but stuff like that, I'm like, I think that's going to really help out a lot to where you can, in the unstaffed, kind of like our kiosk, you know, I'm not going to staff someone from 7 to 7 at the front desk. Um, but in those times, I think there's options now that can definitely help out.
Yeah, and that's a good example because like the ideal thing is you have someone nice and sweet up at the front that's like selling people on some upsells on the drinks. But it's like if your business is not heavily upsell dependent and it's not a heavy sales, it's literally just order taking. I mean, most places you go, like McDonald's, they upsell you. It's like, oh, do you want to make that a large? Or they used to say they don't do it anymore because they got so much flack for it. But they used to say, do you want to supersize that? And that could easily be just a second question. That's just a yes on a screen. But yeah, it's like, I mean, there's been plenty of times we've gone there to that smoothie place and there's no one up front. We just sit there and we're like, okay, I guess I'm just gonna go back up to my office. Where it's like I would have much rather just ordered on a screen if the alternative was I couldn't talk to anybody. And there are also a subset of consumers who just don't even want to talk to somebody. They would actually like by the way, I like Starbucks mobile order is probably one of the most popular ways to now order Starbucks at most Starbucks. Like I'd be very interested to look at their numbers and see how many people are doing mobile order because it's like it's an astonishing number and it just shows like people like we're romantic about how things were, but most people don't want to do it that way. Like the question of the week right now in our clinic is when grocery shopping, do you prefer cashier or self-check? And I've already seen the numbers are like way higher on self-check. And when self-check first came out, people were like, dude, I don't want to, you're making me scan my own groceries. Well, it's like, by the way, everyone thinks they can do a better job than the cashier. They're like, God, this cashier is so slow. It's like, well, then do it yourself. Well, now you have the opportunity. And like a lot of times I'm like into the self-check super quick and I'm out. And it's like, it's basically like what AI is doing, right? It's like you have one cashier that runs 8 self-check booths and now they're way more efficient and they're having to pay, like think about that would have been 8 cashiers. You're saving 7 cashiers, 40,000 a year. You're saving a lot of money. And think about how many shifts you have to do. So that's like, it's millions of dollars in labor that every grocery store is saving by having self checkout.
And by the way, back in the day, it was like, no, I want to have a great conversation with my local cashier. It's like it ain't like that anymore.
Yeah.
Anytime I do have a interaction with the cashier, it's not usually pleasant. So
Yeah.
I'd rather
Yeah.
go self checkout.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that because like I think there's still a subset, especially like older population. Like my dad still very much prefers to talk to someone cashier, but some of that's like out of fear or like unwillingness to like learn a new system, which is fine. Like I think again, I think when you start to phase this stuff in, you have to have options. Like the majority of when we staff our front desk, it's like during the times where like older adults will be coming into our clinic, and so they have the option to talk to somebody. But like even our patients like are self-checking in from their phone text now. Like I got a patient yesterday. I was like, "Are you checked in?" And he was like, "Yeah, I checked in from my cell phone on my way in," because we have that system available. And so like I think as we transition, we'll see more and more computerized interactions, especially in medical. And again, like it's not like the bar is super high. Um, like you go to a hospital and it's really not usually a pleasant process talking to the person behind the desk. They seem like they just don't want to be there. Their customer service is not super high. Now, I would say our front desk very hard to replace with AI because of their personalities and the people that we select and hire into our systems. Um,
But how much work do we put into finding those people? It's like there's that. Like if you're not willing to do that, then you might as well just go AI.
Yeah, and a lot of people are like, "Man, some of this stuff's expensive." Like we pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in software a year, but it's like, I mean, let's say this. Let's say you have to pay a front desk 40 or $50,000 a year. Well, if you can replace that for a software cost of like $15,000 a year per, you're still saving, $30,000 a year per person that you're replacing. And if that $20,000 cost starts to replace 5 people, then it's like really big. And like, it's always sketchy, like talking about replacing people, because I don't want to replace people, but I do know that, like, for example, in the industry of physical therapy, reimbursement is not going up. It not only has it not gone up with inflation, but it like has not even gone up like $1, right? It's actually going down for most insurers. There are some insurers who have increased their reimbursement. So like you have to use technology and get more creative to like lower your overhead and become more efficient. Otherwise, your costs to run your business go up year after year and your reimbursement goes down. You're in a losing battle against physics, right? And so it doesn't matter what I'm romantic about. It doesn't matter what I want my business to be like. It's I have to do what has to be done inside of our business in order to make sure that it survives in the long run. And some of that is going to be replacing people with technology. And it's already happening.
What's the quote? See the world how it is, not how you want it to be. Like, if you can't do that, then you're going to have a tough time in business and as an operator, because you're always going to be trying to move the world or shift the world when it's like, no, it's going this way whether you like it or not. Um,
Yep. Yeah. And I see so many operators of businesses get so romantic about how things should be. And then it just like, it's like, you cannot just build it and they will come. Again, you need a high signal and a durable business. And so like, I see so many people start stuff that's like, why did you think this was a good idea? And also like, that's not how people want it, you know? And so like, it's an interesting thing to think about for sure. One more AI thing. One more suggestion for the Washington State Department of Health. uh, what's crazy? I remember them talking about like the London train system, how like their numbers were really low on like their customer service and like whatever. And there was two options. It was like increase the speed of the trains because people were saying the trains were too slow. It was like increase the speed of the trains or put in a system that just showed you where the train was in its process and when it was going to come, like with an estimate. And one was like, putting that system in was like 100th of the price of actually like buying new trains and making them faster. I think about this with like my recent interaction with the State Department of Health, because we're waiting for a license to come through for a provider. And I'm like, man, it is crazy that it is 2025 and you can't show me like a visual representation of like all of the things that I need for a medical license. And then like what I've already submitted to you, just a green check mark next to the things. And then like a simple timeline of like, here's your approximate wait time on us processing your fingerprints. It's crazy that you can't provide me that. And you can't even tell me like where you're at in the process. And also, by the way, why are we waiting 3 months in some cases to get a medical provider into a system where we are already lacking medical providers?
yeah.
And why are we waiting for a human to read and process and just hit, oh, fingerprints. Oh, it looks like the background check was clear, which by the way is automatically done. And now we're waiting for a human to go, oh yeah, like I'm going to double check that. Yes, the fingerprints went through and the background check was done. Process. That should just be like, how is this not automated?
Instant. It should just be instant, right? It's like,
How is AI not reading transcripts? And how is AI not like not even AI, machine learning, AI, computers? It doesn't matter. Like AI is just like the catch-all phrase for like a computer should be doing this process now. And it's crazy to me in 2025, there are still systems, and that could be a huge business for someone is just like bringing in a third-party software that allows Washington State or any state's departments to like issue licensing faster. Same with like the future of like reading plans for like buildings, right? Like I just got permits for my house to rebuild some stuff. It's like that process should be so much faster. And the fact that buildings are still being delayed because of permitting is
Mhm.
crazy to me. And that's a labor issue because there's not enough people who know how to review permits. This should be like 90% of this, especially like simple projects, should be reviewed by a computer. And then, like, sure, kick out the 10% that it's like, oh, this person's trying to do something funky. Let's have a human look at this. But it's like 90% of these things is like, yeah, I want to add this wall. It's non-load bearing. It's like very minimal stuff. I have an electrician. Here's the sign off process. It's like that should be all automated, but there's humans still doing that. And so, like, I just know very much that in 10 years, our business will look very different and there will be a lot of other businesses that look very different. And so, like, get into a business that's durable. And like, a lot of people thought it was really cool to be a programmer the last decade, but I think that might change with things like Cursor and Replit and like all these other different companies who are basically replacing people. You're just gonna have to be nimble in the next decade if you're a business owner, of like staying up to date with tools, making sure you know what's what, and like even like AI tools that we use now, we have to continuously uh, uh, audit them and make sure that we have the best product, because like there are other companies that are up and coming replacing the AI companies that we have right now. And so it's hard to keep up with, but that is a tactical advantage that you can use to move above the incumbents in your industry.
For sure. That kind of goes into the last thing that I had was, you know how you've heard the term like hearing aids are going to be the next reading glasses.
Mm-hmm.
What what is a PT prediction like that, where it's like, in 10, 20 years, this is just how it's going to be. Maybe it's like injury, like we see all the Achilles stuff going on. Is there going to be like is there going to be a new tool that everyone's using, or a new like treatment that everyone gets, kind of like the Ozempic of PT? Is there going to be something like that? I'd be curious.
Yeah, I've thought about that too, because I'm like, if you could predict Achilles injuries, you'd be doing pretty well. And like the research right now shows that you can't predict a lot of injuries with screens, even though people will tell you that you can. But I would imagine the data, there's just not enough studies on it, because I would imagine if you go, hey, this is your body weight, here's your BMI, here's your calf strength, here's the amount of physical activity you've done in the past, you are this likely to tear your Achilles. Because like we can predict, it's like 30 to 40-year-old dudes who are fat and out of shape are tearing their Achilles left and right. That's like, so if I can tell you that, then there's got to be some way to measure that. So I think what'll become more common in physical therapy in the next couple of decades is probably like wearable technology being infused with your your uh your rehab. More like, hey, my app integrates with your Apple Watch or your Whoop, and I can watch the amount of activity you've done. I can see your baseline fitness for the last 3 years, and I can like see what's been problematic. Like, hey, during this 6-month period, you had a weird gait imbalance. What was going on? Or like a gait cycle disruption. Like, there's going to be a lot more technology involved in objective measures, and it's not going to be like us just pushing on something and going, oh, look, like manual muscle test, it's fine. It's going to be, I think it's going to be way more objective and way more science backed. And who knows, maybe there'll be devices that you can like implant into tendons and check their health, or like even like scan a tendon and be like, oh, this is the general health of your tendon.
Yeah.
Cause like as it does become more and more uh, common for people to like tear their Achilles and all this kind of stuff, um, I think there'll always be someone who comes in and tries to prevent it. Now, whether or not that's actually like real or it's like snake oil, that's going to be the big thing, because there's going to be a lot of snake oil pitches. There already is on injury prevention. But man, I couldn't predict where it's going to be in 5 years, right? Like I couldn't even predict where our business was going to be in 5 years. So hard to predict an industry. But what I do know is like, on a day-to-day basis, if you just continue to audit the technology and the things that are out there and continue to implement them at a very high speed, then you're going to win. Because like, I don't really care what the industry is doing in 20 years. I just care that I'm on the cutting edge of it.
Yeah. And just paying attention. I think that's the thing with like the hearing aids and reading glasses to me is like, it's not anything soon, like I don't know. I mean, my dad wears hearing aids, but like that's been a long-standing problem for him. It's not like something that just happened, but it's kind of like predicting like everyone's using AirPods a lot more than they used to, you know? So like what are people doing today that is going to lead to some other issues that you can then productize, right? Like I don't think it's a great example, but like, if you had this posture tool that like, and then I guess they have them, but I guess they didn't really catch on, but it's like everyone's at their desk here. I built this tool that like you can be at your desk and you're here. And then like, it kind of helps you out like that. I
They
think
have
that like,
that kind of stuff, but that's adopting a new technology. I think the game changer is when, like you're talking about with AirPods, how Apple made them into hearing aids.
yeah,
That is the game changer. When
yeah,
you're layering your product on something that people are already doing. For example, a physical therapy like exercise program layered into an Apple Watch or a Whoop band or an Aura ring or something like that. That is more, I think, realistic than
right,
like creating a new device and getting someone to wear another thing. And that was the biggest thing about uh hearing aids before, was like people weren't really using headphones back in the day, right? They didn't really exist. And then when they did exist, they were wired, and now it's like our generation who grew up with being used to having AirPods in our ear, it doesn't feel that weird. And it's not
put a
that
hearing
weird,
aid
like
there.
carry your hearing aids with you everywhere and charge them at
Yeah,
night and all this stuff. Cause
yeah.
like we're already doing that. And so like you can jump on the back and create a new device. I think that's a harder market. I think the first play is like create something on another device that's already been widely adopted. Like the smartest thing would be probably everyone wears an Apple Watch nowadays, besides me and you, would be like put something on Apple Watch.
Or what about like because the thing with hearing aids is like fashionable. Like how do you make them cool? Like people are making like jewel designs and shit on them. Uh do you see ever like braces becoming cool? Like the Incrediwear knee sleeves and like maybe some type of brace that supposedly helps you prevent Achilles tears while you're playing or something like that. Because I do see more and more people wearing those like sleeves, and maybe I'm just noticing it more. But that would be interesting if you
You're just
made
hanging
something
out.
that,
You're just hanging out with old people now, dude.
yeah, yeah,
No, yeah, I think there's always a space for like making a product that people have to wear cooler. I think that's probably like it's like if I have to wear braces, it may as well be like cool ones. Like, oh, I'm gonna make it look like a grill, or like, you know how people are putting those diamonds like embedded
bro.
on their teeth and shit.
Speaking of that, I was like, you might as well just get braces now because everyone thinks that's cool.
I know they're like got
Straighten
one
your
diamond
teeth
there. I'm
along
like,
with it.
imagine
Yeah,
just gluing a bunch of diamonds to your teeth and then just like having a clear wire between them where it's like, oh, you can't see that wire, but you just see all these like little
yeah.
like diamonds and stuff. Yeah, I think it's already coming, but
Which is that's what makes it harder to predict shit because I would have never predict back when I had braces, dude. I would have never thought this would be actually cool someday,
we're gluing diamonds to our teeth. I
right,
did have a grill. I found it the other day. I tried it on. It was super fucking tight, but it was from remember back in like high school?
bro? People at this event that I was at were actually wearing that shit, and I'm like,
They're
dude,
back.
this is like
I'm
they
busting my
had
grill out.
they had all the old stuff we were wearing. It was so weird. The Labubus basically beanie babies now, like
Everything's in cycles, man. Well, I think this was a banger. I'm glad we got some. I think the title of this episode's got to be like "From Trash to Cash," or like
trash.
like the dumpster to whatever empire. But
Okay,
that was a good episode. I
that was fun.
think that's the pod.
I